All right, I think we're going to get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Cooper, and I'm the president of the Police Board, and I am calling the May 16th meeting to order. We thank CAN-TV for covering this meeting. It is being broadcast on Channel 27 and live streamed at cantv.org and on the CAN-TV app. Along with myself, we have the following board members attending in person this evening: Vice President Ms. Paula Wolf, Mr. Stephen Block, Ms. Mariley Cusack, Ms. Nanette Dorley. In addition to the police board members, we have the following city officials who are here with us this evening: the Chief of the Chicago Police Department's Bureau of Detectives, Antoinette Ursetti, who is representing Superintendent Snelling as he is in Washington, D.C. for National Police Week. We also have the Chief Administrator of the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, Ms. Andrea Kirsten. We have the Associate General Counsel for Public Safety, Sam Che, who is representing Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety, Tobara Richardson. We have the Deputy Chief of the Chicago Police Department's Bureau of Internal Affairs, Tracy Walker, who is representing Chief Yolanda Talley. And we have the Acting General Counsel to the Superintendent, Mr. Scott Spears, along with the Police Board's Executive Director, Max Caproni. Before we proceed to the items on the agenda, I want to recognize a recently resigned member of the Chicago Police Board, Ms. Asia Carr-Favors, and I want to thank her for her service and dedication to the board. While she joined the board just over a year ago and made a positive impact, she is leaving the board to take a position in the corporate counsel's office. And while we'll miss her on the board, we know that she's going to do great in her new position, and we wish her all the best. We will now proceed to the items on the meeting agenda. Is there a motion to approve the drafts of the minutes of the board's public and closed meetings held on April 18th?
So moved. Second, Mariley Cusack.
All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Just for the general public and for everybody in the room, the next regular public meeting of the police board is scheduled to take place on June 20th at 7:30 p.m. That meeting will take place where this meeting is, which is at the Chicago Public Safety Headquarters. The police board meets in executive session to discuss various matters. Those discussions are closed to the public as authorized by Section 2C1, 4, 11, and 21 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act. Information on matters discussed in the executive sessions is included in the minutes of the meetings posted on our website. Is there a motion to close a series of future executive sessions as authorized by these sections of the Open Meetings Act?
So moved. Paula Wolf. Second, Mariley Cusack.
All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a report on the status of the litigation on the arbitrator's ruling regarding police disciplinary cases, including an update on the status of cases currently before the police board. As I reported at the board's previous meeting on March 21st, Cook County Circuit Judge Michael Mullen issued his ruling that allows Chicago police officers to choose to have the most serious cases of police misconduct heard by an arbitrator rather than the police board. On April 19th, the Fraternal Order of Police filed a notice of appeal of Judge Mullen's decision. The union is challenging Judge Mullen's ruling that arbitration proceedings be open to the public and that accused officers may be suspended without pay while the arbitration case is pending. Since the circuit court ruling, and as noted on the police board's website, 16 police officers with disciplinary cases currently before the police board have filed motions to transfer their cases to arbitration and terminate the police board proceedings. The board is awaiting further information from these parties as to whether the city and the union can reach an agreement on a public arbitration process before ruling on these motions. The board will not be taking any final action this evening on police disciplinary cases for which the police board hearing has concluded. The police board website will continue to keep the public informed of any new developments in the litigation and of the status of disciplinary cases currently before the board. I encourage members of the public to check the news and police discipline sections of our website for the most current information. The next item on the agenda is police disciplinary cases. The police board hears cases when the superintendent files charges recommending that an officer be discharged from the Chicago Police Department for violating CPD's rules of conduct. The board, as authorized by the Open Meetings Act, has discussed in a closed meeting one police disciplinary case. We will now take final action on this case. Regarding case number 23PB3036, the superintendent filed charges against respondent police officer Terrence Finley, recommending that he be discharged from the Chicago Police Department for causing a fatal car crash while off duty and intoxicated. Officer Finley resigned from the CPD prior to a hearing on these charges. Is there a motion to grant the superintendent's motion to withdraw the charges against Terrence Finley because the board no longer has jurisdiction due to his resignation from the Chicago Police Department?
So moved, Paula Wolf. Second, Riley Cusack.
Hearing a second, I will now call on the members of the board for their votes. Vice President Wolf.
Aye.
Mr. Stephen Block.
Aye.
Ms. Riley Cusack.
Aye.
Ms. Nanette Dorley.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Block, Cusack, Dorley, and Cooper. The motion passes by a vote of 5-0. The written order will be entered as of today's date, sent to the parties, and then posted on the board's website. When a person who applies to become a Chicago police officer is disqualified and removed from the eligibility list due to the results of a background investigation, that person has a right to appeal to the police board. The board, as authorized by the Open Meetings Act, has discussed in a closed meeting several appeals. We will now take final action on these appeals. Is there a motion to affirm the disqualification decision for the following appeals? 23AA46, 24AA05, 06, and 08. To reverse the disqualification decision for the following appeals, 24AA07, and to dismiss the following appeal because it was not filed within the time period required by the municipal code, case number 24AA04.
So moved, Paula Wolf. Second, Riley Cusack.
Hearing a second, I will now call on the members of the board for their votes. Vice President Wolf,
Aye.
Mr. Stephen Block,
Aye.
Ms. Riley Cusack,
Aye.
Ms. Nanette Dorley.
Aye.
I also vote in favor of the motion. Voting in favor are board members Wolf, Block, Cusack, Dorley, and Cooper. The motion passes. The written decisions of these appeals will be entered as of today's date, sent to the parties, and posted on the board's website. The next item on the agenda is a police board policy regarding Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety reviews and audits. Paragraph numbers 560 and 564 of the consent decree on policing in Chicago require the police board to provide the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety access to information and not interfere with the exercise of the deputy's discretion or oversight responsibilities. While provisions of the municipal code address the requirements of these two paragraphs, the board has drafted a policy to address them as well. We will post the draft policy in the alerts section of the board's website, which is chicago.gov/police board, along with information on how to provide comment on the draft. Public comments are due by Monday, June 17th. At this time, I would like to ask Chief Ursetti to give a report on behalf of the superintendent.
Thank you, President Cooper, and good evening. This month, the Chicago Police Department returned to Michigan Avenue for the annual St. Jude Memorial March. For the first time since 2006, we returned to the heart of downtown to march in honor of the 601 CPD officers who have been killed in the line of duty. Our police recruits lined the route with the names and photos of our fallen heroes. This is a tradition rooted in our promise to never forget the men and women who died in service to our city or their families. Led by the Gold Star families, our officers marched through the route lined by families of CPD and community members. We were united as one city to recognize the sacrifices made to protect the people of Chicago. This march followed a difficult 2 weeks for us as we mourned the loss of Officer Luis Huesca. I want to thank all of our community members who reached out to support CPD and the Huesca family. We have truly felt comforted by the kindness extended to us throughout this tragic time. As we laid our hero to rest, we were also searching for the offender who ended the life of this young officer. Following a 10-day multi-state manhunt and with strong investigative support from community members and local and federal partners, we took this offender into custody. The diligent investigative work of our detectives that went into identifying and finding this suspect is the same work that goes into every homicide investigation. It's important to our detectives and our entire department that we seek justice for each victim and each family that has experienced violence. This year so far, we have a 71% homicide clearance rate and have cleared 123 homicides. More than 30% of incidents that have been cleared are for homicides that occurred this year. In many of these cases, the community has come forward to provide vital information to move the investigation forward. I say this because I want to emphasize the importance of the community when it comes to making our community safer by taking violent criminals off of the streets. As we move forward, we're going to continue seeking justice for those who have been affected by violence through stronger investigations so that we can disrupt the cycle of trauma within our communities. We will also continue supporting survivors and families with our Crime Victim Services Program and our Family Liaison Office, which provides practical support in a trauma-informed manner to survivors of those who have died by homicide. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I will next call on the Chief Administrator of COPA, Ms. Andrea Kirsten, to give her comments.
Thank you, President Cooper, and members of the public, members of the Police Board and Chicago Police Department that are here tonight. First, I just wanted to say one thing in response to Chief Rossetti's comments. Your family liaison work in your homicide division is something that our staff is very aware of and often takes some inspiration from as we engage in families impacted by our investigations as well. So I appreciate you lifting that up for the public because I think that's truly important and transformational work. To just touch on COPA's highlights or updates from the last month, as I typically do, just give some statistical overview. We received 292 complaints and notifications last month. 77 of those were under COPA's specific jurisdiction. As we see month over month, and as I report out on every time I'm here at the Police Board, the highest number of complaints were Fourth Amendment or improper search or seizure allegations that represented 37% of our total complaints that we retained. There were no police shootings that we received notification about last month, and we concluded 81 total investigations, and of those, approximately 24 of those cases had any sort of sustained finding or disciplinary recommendation, so approximately 30% of the cases that we concluded last month. We also released one video last month, as is our one set of videos and other supporting documents, as is our requirement under the city's video release policy. And as always, our community engagement team was active and about the city. They were at 28 different community engagement events in all corners of our city, trying to continue to educate the public about the work that we do at COPA. And lastly, I just want to touch on one really important and exciting opportunity for the public to learn more about COPA as an organization, the training that we go through. This is our third version of COPA People's Academy, is set to launch next Tuesday, May 21st. This is a program that we started last year in order to kind of answer one of the most commonly asked questions that we get from members of the public. Why are you as civilians qualified to review officer conduct? And so we really took a lot of time and deliberation to think about the way that we wanted to open up to the public the training and background and expertise that we have within our agency. And so our staff, when they come on board, have to go through a rigorous onboarding and training experience. And we kind of took little snippets of that to condense it down and make a 6-week free course available to the public that runs 6 Tuesday nights in a row from 6 to 8:30 p.m., starting May 21st and ending in the end of June, in order to do just that, to answer the question to the public as to how we're prepared to tackle the heavy work of investigating these kinds of cases and allegations. So I definitely want to invite people who might be interested to go to our website, chicagocopa.org. It's right there on the front page, the link to the registration. It's a completely free course. And while we put a lot of time into sort of the scheduling and what comes first in the sequence of classes, if you can't commit to 6 weeks and you just want to come to one, come to whatever works for you. But we'd love to have as many community members. We have some district council from the 17th district. We're going to be up on the north side at North Park University, actually, for this People's Academy. We started our work on the west side last year at the Joint Public Safety Training Center, and we're making plans to have our fourth Copa People's Academy in person will be on the south side. But this will be up north at North Park University, and we'll have local district council members from the 17th district, some aldermanic support. We have some officers that have already signed up, and we really welcome that kind of feedback and engagement as well. Activists, students from the university, residents, neighborhood, and community members. So again, it's just an important opportunity for us to show who we are and how we do what we do, and to answer the questions that many community members have. So I just want to encourage people to take advantage of this engagement opportunity. And I have some information for it if you have any questions, some hard copies. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Administrator. I will now call upon members of the public who have signed up in advance to speak to make sure that everybody has a chance to say what they need to say and that we can hear from all the speakers. We would just ask that you would follow our standard practice, which requires a 2 minutes time limit. Vice President Wolf will be keeping time, and we'll do our best to enforce it as we go through the public comment period. So at this time, I would like to call Ms. Shawanda Battle to make a public comment if you are in the room. Not seeing Ms. Battle. Is there a Ms. Kim Green who would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Green, and I'm a part of the group of neighbors that live along the 75th Street corridor from State to Cottage Grove. Over the past 2 years, the group has been working with the 3rd and 6th districts, the aldermen, and businesses to help improve quality of life and public safety. Last year, I was up here and I spoke about things happening on 75th Street, and the commanders were able to get help and the resources they needed, and the situation improved. I'm here again because recently it's amped up again. Just last week, there was a murder at the Maxwell Street Polish establishment on 74th and State. Earlier the same week, there was a car accident on 75th and Calumet. 3 perpetrators jumped out, a gun was found. They tried to get in my neighbor's yard. And also, this last weekend, there was traffic was at a gridlock. There were people partying in the street, people standing on cars, twerking and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So the reason I'm here is to ask that there is a dire need for equitable distribution of police resources. In addition to the staffing shortages, the 3rd District has expressed to us that they need cars. There are some beats that are not even covered because there are no cars to do it. And another instance of inequitable resource distribution is that there's 1 car from the 3rd District, which is one of the busiest districts in the city. 1 car is regularly reallocated to another district that has a fraction of the crime in the 3rd District, and this needs to stop. So I just ask for equitable resources from the mayor, whoever pulls the purse strings. We need funds. We need resources. We need human capital. We need equipment.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Chief, maybe if you have time after the meeting, it might be helpful if you could follow up with Ms. Green.
Yes, thank you.
I would next like to call on Sharon Pincham. Okay. How about Gail Salisbury? Okay.
I'll speak for them.
Okay. June Norfleet?
People. Well, a gracious good evening to all of you. We are here once again, and first of all, I want to echo the sentiments and the request of my neighbor. We need resources in the 3rd District. We are somewhat tired and not yet resigned to the constant reply that we just don't have enough. We know we can do better in the 3rd District. I am here today in my working clothes, talking trash, because our crew is an anti-litter and a community enhancement crew. And one of the tasks that the police department is charged with is identifying and helping to remediate troubled buildings. We need you to do that. We need support for the officers who are assigned troubled buildings. In those troubled buildings, you may probably find troubled people. Possibly. And if we do that, we may well be able to eliminate, if not eliminate, at least mitigate some of the challenges that we're having in the 3rd District and many other districts. You have to make this cannot be just something that we pass along and say, this is your job, and not really give it any substance. We need help. Because I'm gonna tell you this, just recently we finally got an opportunity to go to an administrative hearing for a very troubled building. Drug activity, gang activity, trash, litter, everything you can imagine on 70th and Merrill. I have one that's not too far from me on University. But we get to this meeting that we've been waiting for, and I can't tell it to you all, but I will love to talk to any of you who would like to hear afterwards. It was a very disappointing and frustrating situation because we don't have the support of CPD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norfleet. I'd next like to call Ms. Jennifer Everts. Take your time.
Well, don't count my minutes yet.
We haven't started yet.
Okay. Thank you for allowing us to talk. You know, we are involved. It's great to see Chief Ursetti. She's done some wonderful things, and thank you so much. I wanted to speak for some of the things I was going to tell the superintendent because he did close a troubled business that we have at 79th and Cottage Grove, Happy's Liquor. We've been trying to keep that closed for years, okay? We do business walks. We go and with BACP, we shut them down, then they open up again. So thank you all. Hopefully it will be closed permanently. Thank you to the commander of the 6th District that has helped with that. You also see that we go to the gas stations. We try to go along and help when people want to get their gas. Ms. Sharon Pinchon wanted to talk about Airbnbs. So now it's time for the parties again. There have to be rules for Airbnbs, okay? The police need help with that. Ms. Gail Salisbury lives right in back of Happy's Liquor. And she has gone for years trying to get that closed. So let's hopefully we do that. We're hoping that we get involved, okay? We want to expand our Together We Can project. You weren't here, but the other people were here. We want to do that to get more of us involved so we will know what needs to be done. We will see about shot spotter cameras. We will see about the arrests, the different types of arrests, the carjackings, all of those things we go over on a weekly and bi-weekly basis. And if we have other community members coming in and seeing what's happening, then we're more involved and we're more able to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. I'd next like to call Mr. Matt Brandon.
Good evening, board. I'm a little disappointed in the way that everything was set up tonight, okay? The community comes here at 7 o'clock to come in and be present when you arrive, okay? And we're told that we can't come in until the board gets here. That's a problem. That's a problem. I was disappointed in that. We have senior citizens with us. The police set the barricades up around the only place to sit, so the senior citizens can't sit down and await the time for this board meeting to start. I think you know that we come here in support of the things that you all do. We always want the best outcomes for the families who come here in pain, but for the most part, we support you. But the overkill out here tonight, the waste of manpower, talk about allocation of resources that should have been on the street, but because there were 25 people here, there's 200 police in the lobby. That's a little bit exorbitant, of course. But if you want the community to come here with you, then treat the community with some respect. We were not respected tonight. It wasn't anything that the officers did. Let me clear that up. They were very respectful. They did what they had to do. But it was what you all did that disrespected the community. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Brandon, and we'll be happy to talk with you after the meeting to clear up some of those issues. I next like to call Ms. Roxanne Burnett. Okay. Ms. Pamela Hunt. Mr. Keith Mecklemore.
Hey, how are you? So I'm Keith Mecklemore. I started coming to these meetings ever since last year. Happy to see some new faces and some young faces and also some familiar faces, so I'm happy about that. Initially, last month, I was sort of prepared to make my remarks about an exchange between Andrea and the superintendent. All you guys are awesome. I appreciate you, and you take these roles seriously, so I do appreciate that. But you seem to be butting heads, even though I really don't think that you were, about sort of like a surge in cases that were being submitted. The superintendent didn't understand that, but it seemed to be related to new contractual terms that sort of, impacted timeline, and so it was just a surge. I get it, but the fact of the matter is that it seemed to me, and I experience this all the time in my world, wasn't the communication that was required so that they could anticipate that and understand why there was a surge. So sometimes that happens, you seem like you're siloed, and I know in my world, we get siloed, and I think that you guys are siloed. It's a result of imbalance. You guys are trying your best, the officers are trying their best, but when not all parties, including the public, are trying also their best, it's going to show up. It's going to then invite people to gripe. Every time that I do speak, which isn't often, I'm also referring to an analysis that I do that's data-driven by CPD data that actually came out of Crystal. Sergeant Nichols helped me to explain sort of patterns and trends in all of the major crime categories. That's not me, right? So
You've got 22 seconds.
okay, I appreciate that. So I would still like ears, but when you make remarks about an incendiary sort of issue like Dexter Reed, without reading your prepared remarks, which you read last month, you should have read that during your interviews. That would have been awesome, and that would have been more appropriate. So just don't reply, but just sort of noodle on that, all right? I think that would have been the best, approach. Just read your remarks, and then if you want to educate, do that at a more opportune time.
Thank you, Mr. Mecklemore.
Thanks.
I next like to call Mr. Kobe Gilroy.
Good evening, everybody. I heard Chief Rossetti say something that I really agree with, which is that we need to take violent criminals off the streets. And I'm here to talk about some violent criminals who fired 96 shots in a residential neighborhood and murdered Dexter Reed. The family of Dexter Reed needs justice. The community of Dexter Reed needs justice. And justice, as a start, looks like firing those officers, firing those violent criminals, and refusing to support them with our tax dollars. It also looks like convicting them of murder, which is the crime that they committed. But beyond that, Dexter Reed is not the first young black person to be murdered by the Chicago Police Department. Just like with the case of Laquan McDonald, with the case of Betty Jones, Pierre Laurie, Rekia Boyd, and so many others, we need to have systemic changes. We need to have changes in the policy and the practice. We need to have changes that result in the community actually controlling the police. And the way that we start is by making policy changes which the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability is empowered to make. Specifically, as for the case of Dexter Reed, which would prevent people from being murdered in the way that he was murdered, is abolishing those TAC teams. Those teams do not keep us safe. They jump out at people, at innocent people, they hurt them and they kill them. And abolishing pretextual traffic stops. So we welcome the proposed policy that Kim Foxx presented today to end the use of pretextual traffic stops. Because again, the data shows that those stops do not keep us safe. We know for a fact that Dexter Reed would still be alive today if he hadn't been stopped in that way by those officers. And ultimately, like Mr. Brandon said, the community is not being respected by the police. What we saw outside is a show of that disrespect. So the next month, we don't need to have those barricades out there. We have the right to be here. We have the right to be heard and to speak our voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilroy. I'd next like to call Anushka Gupta.
Hi, my name is Anushka, and I am here as an Asian American to express my solidarity with Carper and with Dexter Reed's family. I'm disgusted and outraged by the violence police enact on all of our communities, but especially on Black Chicagoans. And so we demand that you press charges against the officers involved with Dexter Reed's murder, disband TAC teams, and put an end to pretextual traffic stops. And so I want to emphasize that we reject the narrative that police practices are here to protect us. And we know that our liberation and freedom as Asian Americans is tied to Black liberation and freedom. And so after 9/11, the police criminalized and surveilled South Asian and Arab communities because of Islamophobia. We know that Southeast Asian communities are 3 times more likely to be deported regardless of immigration status. And even this morning, the police raided DePaul's encampment while students were asleep, brutalizing our communities once again. And so the common thread amongst all of these is the idea of othering us and the dehumanizing of people of color. And this dehumanization is the byproduct of white supremacy and is the same system that would allow impunity for the police officers who murdered Dexter Reed. And so again, I demand that you press charges against those 5 officers involved in Dexter Reed's murder, disband the TAC teams, and put an end to pretextual traffic stops. The police do not keep us safe. Thank you.
The final speaker who signed up for public comment at this meeting is Mr. Robert Moore. What's your name?
I signed up on the internet.
Sure. You guys can both go. Is there a Mr. Robert Moore who's here? Okay. Well, you can go first, and then you can go follow him as well.
Oh, okay. I have some printouts. I don't know if you want to mail some in to you guys, but I'm just taking stuff. I'm the guy who was complaining last month about the affinity policing. But anyway, and also I'd like to say that these people came in, the sign-up sheet was gone. When I came, I was the first one in. There was people already seated, but these people, like this lady over here, were waiting outside, and she had no bench to sit on. And I'm saying, it just seems the sheet was pulled. So, and some people want to sign up. And that's like, I wanted to sign up because I don't trust people saying, yeah, you're signed up. And they send me back an email. Obviously, I'm not signed up. So I'm just putting that out there, okay?
Understood.
Okay, all right, now, my questions were about the affinity policing. That's what Superintendent Stelling told me it was called. All right, my questions are, okay, like people in affinity policing, the rainbow cars, I call them. Like we're talking about shortages of police cars in some neighborhoods, but yet we do politics and we put these cars out that are tied up in these neighborhoods. And my question is to the police, these cars, will you use these cars for the DNC convention for crowd control? Would you use those?
Thank you, sir, for your question. Can you clarify exactly which cars you're talking about?
The rainbow police cars, the affinity police and the LGBTQ police cars. You got 3 of them. And Rahm Emanuel put this in 2016 after a parade, Pride Parade, and that's how it got started. But my question is, now you got 3 of them. I'm saying you got shortages of cars in certain neighborhoods. These people I talk to don't even think they're police cars. So my question is, will you be using them for crowd control during the Democratic National Convention? Which I doubt. And I've had problems in my neighborhood 3 weekends in a row down in Streeterville where the teens have taken over the kids. And I don't think if you sent those cars down there, they would be respected. People do respect the blue and white. But anyway, so I ask you if those cars, is that all they're good for, is props?
Sure, and I think your question is one that I would address by saying that with this upcoming convention that you're mentioning, our commitment is not only to ensuring that it's a safe event for people who come, but ensuring that every community gets the same level of public safety and service that we deliver every day. So when you're asking about 3 specific vehicles that are assigned to a district, I can't tell you that they're going to be down at crowd control when I expect that we're going to continue to have every one of our districts operating routine functions while we support this large-scale event.
Okay, well, that tells me you're not going to use them down there. So anyway, all right, there's 22 policing. I'm talking about the Chicago Police Department special order.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Okay. Also, your website still says 15 minutes.
Good evening. For the record, D-O-Y-L-E, Doyle, Landry, L-A-N, D as in David, R-Y. So as a pastor, a Marine Corps veteran, and one who has lost numerous African-American young men and women who were going somewhere with their lives to a bullet. Tomorrow makes 1 year, that the mother of Chicago Police Department Officer Ariana Preston did the hardest thing that a mother does. She put her child into the ground and walked away. I want to open with that. As a former reporter, I can do this in less than 2 minutes. The common denominator between Officer Preston, Officer Thomas Eugene Werner IV, and other officers who have had their lives taken from them is the race of the individual who pulled the trigger. See, the uncomfortable conversation that we don't have in Chicago revolves around race. So that discussion took place over 10 years ago, where the mayor was white and the police chief was white. The uncomfortable conversation that we don't have for those of us who claim Black pride is our failure to address why the murders continue. So as a Marine Corps veteran who strongly supports those who put their lives on the lines every day to protect, at the end of the day, African-American mothers who have put their children to the ground and then walked away, never will there be another good Mother's Day.
Thank you, Reverend. Well, that concludes our public comment portion of the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Paul Wolf. Second, Marty Cusack.
All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Well, guys.